The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And here we are, episode 93.
93.
What's our topic today?
This is telepathy.
Telepathy.
Yep.
This is a good one. Interesting. Don't know much about it.
Yep.
But
It's very interesting. I'm looking forward to getting into it.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, before we do, how about anything from last week you want to share?
Yeah, last week we did remote viewing. And if you remember, I did a couple of trial things with people to see how this went. And one of them was Sherry. And with Sherry, I was trying to view the room that she was in. And I should have drawn it out. Really, that's what I should have done. Because everything that I was seeing, she sent me pictures, was very, very accurate. Which she said when I was describing it on the show that she was like, I think that you really saw more than you think you did. So she sent me the picture. And I had said that there was a rectangular TV on the wall across from the couch. Okay, well, it wasn't a TV, but I kept questioning myself on that because I kept seeing and hearing the rectangle part. And I'm like, well, aren't all TVs rectangular? Like, why is that being pointed out? Well, it wasn't a TV. It was a hole in the wall. Like, so you could see between the kitchen and the living room. I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So I saw that, but wasn't real sure what that was. I saw exactly where the windows were. The floor, if you remember, I said that the floor was white, but it didn't look to me to be carpet. Like, I didn't think it was carpet, but I could have sworn that she said that she had white carpet. It actually was, I think, like a tile. White, but it had like shapes and patterns on it. So when I saw it in my head, I saw the white, but I saw like, if you've ever been in like somebody's garage, if they like epoxy it and then like pieces start coming off, that's kind of what I was seeing. It was like just little pieces of black, but I didn't know what that was. Maybe dirty carpet, but it ended up being the pattern of the flooring. So yeah, that was cool. A cool experiment to do. And then I had talked about the app, the remote viewing app. It's like a tournament. And I did that as well. And I've done 7 of those and I've gotten 5 of 7 correct.
Wow.
So yeah. So I would definitely recommend that app for anybody that is interested. It's a remote viewing tournament. You only can do 1 a day because it's a tournament.
Right.
But it's still really neat. I'm enjoying it a lot.
I mean, it's pretty proven, as far as like that whole idea of like, because this app, you're staring at a number, correct?
Yeah, it's just a number.
Yeah, that blows my mind that you can focus on a number and get information off that number,
Yeah.
But that's pretty impressive even with Sherry. I mean, knowing colors of, like, she could have had brown carpet.
Right.
Or wood floors.
Yeah.
But you specifically saw the white,
Yeah.
So that's cool. I'm glad she always helps out and gets involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks,
Thank you, Sherry, for your help. She helped with this week too, so yeah,
cool.
Gotta give her props for that. I appreciate it. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention was we have a new TikTok, and I had said that last week, but I've been working really hard on it. So if you have a TikTok and have a second, go check it out.
Yeah,
it's at
fun.
Spiritual Joneses. Yeah, I do I pull cards. Like I'll ask my tarot deck or oracle decks, give me a message for some of the viewers. And so then a card will come out. And then what I do is I put up the card and I explain what it is, why this might, be, somebody might need this, that they come across it. I've been doing a lot of different things like that, but check it out. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So that's my weekly update.
The recap?
Yep. Yep.
All right. Well, let's hop into episode 93 then, Telepathy.
Let's do it. Telepathy. So first, let's start with what is telepathy?
Good.
Yes. Telepathy is a form of communication between one mind to another by extrasensory means. So you're receiving and sending pictures, thoughts, and feelings with another person. So it's different from remote viewing in the way that you're not like trying to view what the person is seeing or anything like that. You're trying to kind of read their mind or get it from them what it is that they are looking at or thinking about or whatever the case may be there. Everybody has this. Everybody is born with this ability. You just have to learn how to use it. Just like anything else, you can't most people don't just try something the first time and they're good at it. But a lot of us also, too, notice the natural telepathy and don't recognize it as that. We try to say that it's just a coincidence,
Right.
okay? But if you all of a sudden are thinking about somebody out of the blue and then they call you, that's no coincidence.
No.
Now, that could be telepathy. That could
Right.
be a psychic thought that, they're going to do that.
Right.
But I believe it's usually telepathy. It's like that person thinking about you and then you're picking up on that they're thinking about you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to maybe do it at the same time in order for that to connect at the same time. Be aware
Yes.
that you're both trying to connect at the same time for it to be really successful.
Well,
That's not necessarily, I mean, you could sit and say, hey, man, to a friend of mine, in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to try to talk to you, tell you something, or try to get what you're thinking. And then in 5 more minutes, I'll call you and let's talk about that and see what we both got,
Yeah, that's a totally different form of telepathy. There's different kinds, and
Right.
we'll get into it. It's like there's the natural one that you just can't help it. It just happens. And then there's the type that you work on, which is what you're talking about. And I experimented with that. We did, too, a lot this week.
Even when you think about social interactions, I know that there's physicality involved. So you have physical expressions, But at the same time, without saying a word, you're very much connecting with that person. Now, telepathy obviously is much more effective to define if you're in separate places. But there is some of that going on even in social interactions without being, even if you're using sort of physical language.
Right.
There's still some sort of talking of the mind.
Yes. Something that I found really important, and not a lot of articles covered this, but you can look at telepathy as like telempathy, okay? You have to feel this. You have to put emotions into this. This is not about the physical brain. This is about emotion.
Right.
We've talked about Bashar before.
Yep.
There's a man that channels Bashar. His name is Daryl Anaka, I think. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that wrong. But he channels Bashar. Bashar is a non-physical being, okay? And that's what Bashar says. Bashar says that telepathy is actually telepathy. And you know what? I'm going to read it. I saved it just for this.
Yeah.
Because I think it hits home. Okay. Telepathy is telempathy. Telempathy is emotionally activated, not mentally activated. People who are in love often know exactly what the other is thinking, don't they? So what is telepathy? Telepathy is not reading each other's minds. It's not even reading each other's hearts. It's being on the same wavelength and having the same feelings and the same thoughts at the same time.
Right.
It's simultaneous. I've never seen this word before in my life. Simultaneously, but that's not it. Anyways, moving on. That's what telepathy is. Simultaneously, if you are on the same wavelength as someone else, you will automatically know exactly what they are thinking or exactly what they are feeling because those are your thoughts and feelings too. So you're not actually pulling it from someone's mind. You're simply walking a similar path. Swimming together, flying on the same level. That's what people who are in love often exhibit telepathy all the time. I thought that was very wise.
That's pretty interesting.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I like to know more about Bashar and maybe do an episode on that whole thing because it's really interesting. But he has a lot of interesting, like I said, I didn't see this on any other page. This was just about Bashar. Like, that's very wise words.
Oh, yeah.
Very
Makes
wise.
a lot of sense.
Yep.
That guy's been doing that a long time, hasn't he?
37 years, I think. Yeah.
And is it like a church somewhere that you can go? Because I've seen films of him in this place that he does this.
I'm not really sure.
And it seemed like kind of like a church where you could just go in and listen and watch, and hear what he says.
Well, maybe, because I've seen different places too. Maybe he travels, like Dolores Cannon would do different lectures in different places. I'm not really sure what his deal is, but we're going to have to look into it because he's very interesting and I'd like to learn more.
And again, I only saw snippets of it, but it didn't seem like a true, like kind of religious sermon. It was more of like a question and answer. I felt like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what this was, is somebody had asked about telepathy, and that's how he answered it for them. So, yeah, very, very interesting stuff. So we'll look into that more.
Yeah.
So when he talks in there about being on the same wavelength, then that's about frequency and being on the same frequency. This is something that has been, I don't want to say proven, but like I read this quote. This is from Inside Science. It says the act of telepathy is real, as in published in academic papers real. So they really have done a lot of research on this within science, within the government. You know, it is very real. Twins often do this without even knowing it. Like they seem to be on the same wavelength a lot. That's reported a lot that twins. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So I was saying before how there's different types of telepathy. So the first type is called instinctual telepathy. And this is the type, like kind of what Bashar was talking about. This is the husband and wife, the parent and child, the best friends that are just on that same wavelength.
Right.
This is how one way animals communicate with each other. Is just this instinctual telepathy. They just know. It's like we have verbal, they have their own verbal or physical cues or whatever.
That to me in itself is proof, because we know that us as a species, we have to be able to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And as far as we know, there was probably a time before there was language.
Oh, yeah.
There was maybe sounds or expressions. But these guys are very much the same. How are they going about life generation after generation without communicating with one another? Like, what's dangerous?
Right.
What's safe? We were talking about, like, the ravens outside and the different sounds and what they mean. One's a warning, one's a mating. You know, they're communicating, but not just with sound and verbiage or whatever, but with their minds.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. So that is instinctual. It also is like when you say I trust my gut or like I had a gut feeling, this would also fall under the instinctual. Something just instinctively tells you maybe something's not right. You just feel it and you don't know why. That's instinctual. Let's see. And then there's mental telepathy, and this involves the thought transfer between two people. This is the type of telepathy that goes beyond just knowing what the other person is thinking. You can actually have a conversation with somebody through telepathy with pictures, symbols, words, etc.
Right.
This is what I've been kind of working on and what we've done together, and it is a lot harder than you would think.
Yeah.
It is very hard.
Yeah, because it's not like a word conversation. It's images.
Well, and you, like Bashar said, you have to be on that wavelength. And if you're not on the same wavelength, you know, how is that supposed to happen?
Right. I see his point, because it has to come from an emotional kind of thing. So, for instance, the times that it's happened for me, it's like I'll be thinking about a particular person, usually out of fondness.
Right.
You know, like something about him I like or I miss or I love. And that's when it typically happens.
Right.
Not when I'm thinking about somebody that's upsetting me.
Right, sure.
You know, that's irritating me or something.
Exactly.
Then they don't call or text or
No.
anything like that. It's the other way around. There's this vibrational love that's occurring at that moment.
Right.
That I think he's right on target there.
Right. This is how I communicate with animals, is the mental telepathy. I wish it was as easy to do with people as it is with animals, because there really is no reason why it shouldn't be. It's just that animals use this mental telepathy in addition to the instinctual telepathy. They can communicate through nonverbal pictures, whatever, to each other.
Yeah.
So when I'm communicating with an animal, that's exactly what I'm doing, is I'm just talking to them in basically a different language. Telepathy is just kind of a different language. It's a language that you use your mind, your soul for, you know?
I think it's our true language, honestly.
Exactly.
I mean, we definitely use it on the other side because we don't have any physical to talk with, no vocal cords, no mouth, tongue to make sounds. So it's all with your mind.
That's right.
So that is our true language, and we can still use it here in the mortal world, in this dimension, and that's been proven through science.
Yes. And it's funny you say that, because that is the third kind, is spiritual telepathy. And these kind of go in order of, they were ranking them as like skill level, kind of, you know. So spiritual telepathy is similar to mediumship or channeling. To achieve this level of telepathy, you need to be connected and have your chakras aligned. This is one soul to another. So when I'm communicating with the other side, with the spirit on the other side, I'm using the spiritual telepathy to communicate with them. It's my soul talking to their soul.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, for some reason, maybe that could go along with, like Mother Nature. Like when you go out in nature. We went out yesterday and we went for a walk, and I remembered as I was walking, like, oh yeah, every time I do this, I leave something here and I take something with me.
Yep.
So I was really curious the last time we went to this particular place. It's a grove of old oak trees, and it's real shady, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of energy, and you can feel it.
Yeah.
The last time we went with Marina, I felt it, but not as much.
Yeah.
But I think there was this emotional connection yesterday where I needed to get out.
Yes, for sure.
I needed to go.
Yeah.
And so as we were coming towards it, walking down the trail, I felt it really strong from far away. Like I was like, oh, I can feel it. I can feel it. And it's like a really low vibrational like tone, but it's pulsating.
Yeah,
like
pulsing,
boo. That's what it kind of feels like, you know? And the closer you get, it was stronger, but there's one that's like right in the middle of it that looks like maybe it was the mom.
Yeah.
And it's big, and it just radiates the most energy.
Right.
And I was overwhelmed. I felt like the message was received.
Yeah.
And like that mental message was, they told me, get out.
Right.
And you'll see why.
Right.
And I went there, and I got exactly what I was hoping for, to the point where it brought me to tears. I mean, all I could do was just put my hand on the tree and say, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I hear you. Thank you.
It was a very emotional moment.
Nothing in particular was said.
Yeah.
It just made it feel okay, and I could feel the energy, and it restores your, we all want to doubt sometimes.
Yeah.
And, and it just,
faith.
it just made it like, no, it's here.
Yeah. No, I agree. It was quite overwhelming. It was nice to get out and do that for sure. Something that happened to me, like while you were in that stage, is that I was hearing things, and I felt this. It's not the first time that I felt this, but it's almost like a telepathic connection to nature.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling.
Yeah.
Like they didn't speak words. It just said, if you come here, we'll give you what you're seeking. Was kind of what something just said, get out and go there.
Right.
Get out and go there. And I'm like, I'm going to suggest the same old place because I love to go to this place.
Yeah.
And Samantha, not that she doesn't like it, but I just threw it out there, and she's like, sure, let's go. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, no, I'm always up for that.
Because I want to go, and I could feel it so far away this time. It was like pulling me in,
Yeah, I was just standing there taking it in, when I go to a place like that, the first thing I do is let my negative energy go. So I do like deep breaths where I see fresh air coming in and then the black air coming out. And while I was doing that, I heard Mama Tree, and that's where you were. And I was like, what does that mean? It's a mother tree. And I was like looking around, and I remembered when we went to Yosemite and they talked about how, like if there's a fire or something, and how
Mama spawns
exactly.
The seedlings.
And then I was looking around, I was like, all of these trees are smaller than her, all of them. And it just was like overwhelming. And I think that you can, I don't know how, but I think you can communicate with nature on that telepathic level too. It was pretty intense.
There's something healing. So it's like that, just letting it all out, feeling, where like the tears started coming. It was like, I would just let it out.
Yeah, you have to.
But feeling the energy of like having my hand on this, God knows, maybe a 400-year-old oak tree, just humongous.
Right.
And it was something came into me. It's like it's receiving. You have to want to receive some sort of healing. And I think there's so much of it in nature, and with this damn freaking COVID thing, it's like I don't want to go out half the time. Yeah. But I had to. Yesterday I was like, I can't sit here. I gotta go.
No, we need to do it more. There's no excuse because getting out into nature it's very helpful. It's very mind clearing. People don't often realize that. They look at it maybe as just exercise, but I look at it as so much more than that.
Yeah.
So let's see. There's a lot of different kinds of abilities that telepathy can help you work on, okay? Like the astral projection. Telepathy is a part of that. So you work on the telepathy and that'll help with the astral projection. Like I was saying, animal telepathy. That's really much easier than people think it is, animal telepathy. You just have to let your guard down.
Yeah.
And believe that what you're getting is correct and trust, you know. Thought manifestation. I spend a lot of time manifesting.
Yeah.
I think you do too.
Oh, yeah.
Mind control, which is more on the negative side of things, probably not something people should do. No. But I'll tell you what, you guys, there's a lot of stuff out there that's in the movies that we think is just in the movies that is very real.
It's real. Yeah.
And mind control is absolutely one of them. Right. But you can't use it for negative things. That's when it starts to get
like
bad.
The movie we watched the other night, Men Who Stare at Goats.
Yeah, that was really good, by the way.
They're kind of indirectly saying this is true.
Yeah.
It is a true story.
Right.
But, as most things are military-wise, they're quote-unquote classified.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It was a really good movie. And again, using that concept where they give them a number. And there's a bunch of these, like a cabinet with all these little drawers, and each drawer has a number, and they tell them, okay, that's your number. Now tell me what's inside that drawer. And one guy could get it.
Yep.
Right on the money.
Yep.
Exactly what it was.
It's absolutely very possible. Absolutely. Working on telepathy also helps with clairvoyance as well as dowsing. And what dowsing is being able to locate an object without, like, there's dowsing rods that might help you that are like what do they call it? Metal detectors kind of, but you hold them and they kind of come together.
Right.
Dowsing, you don't even need anything. You just can sense, you can feel where the object or person is.
Yeah.
So those are all things that working on telepathy will help you strengthen those other abilities as well. There's a very long list. I just took from them the most positive ones, because some of them were really, like the mind control one, I was like, no, we shouldn't go there.
Nah.
Like, that's just, not okay. That's bad energy. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the experiments that I did this week. I used 3 people. I used Sherry and Chelsea again, and then I used Gabe, because Gabe got mad that I didn't use him last week. But he didn't even ask until after it was recorded. I was like, well, we already recorded. He's like, oh, fine, be that way. So I'm like, okay, I'll use your help this week.
Sorry, Gabriel.
So I'll start with what I did with Gabe. Because I told him that I was going to use him in the episode, I just started sending him, messages. I imagined him, and I was like, Gabe, listen. Message me, so we can talk about this. Message me. And as of this morning, I hadn't heard from him yet. And so I reached out to him and I was like, well, did you feel anything? Like, was there anything this week at all, especially in the last couple of days, that maybe you could say? And he didn't even read it for a while. I was like, I'm going to go into this episode and not know. But he said that he a few times had that feeling of like, I wonder if she's going to message me or if I should message her. Huh. Now, if that was just a coincidence or if he was actually picking up on those times that I sent it to him, I don't really know. Right. I was just experimenting. But he said that he did a few times feel like, well, maybe I should reach out to her because I don't know if she's going to reach out to me. So that was the experiment I did with Gabe.
I know that we did, but we always kind of do this for fun a little bit. But you did say to me, I was trying to ask you if you could make some tea.
Yeah.
Because we were out and I was in the garage. We were in different rooms for a few minutes.
Bathroom, yeah.
So I know there was a period somewhere while I was in the garage that I thought, oh, I got to do that. I still have to, in my mind, it was like, oh, it's one more thing I got to check off my list that I need to do. Maybe that's when you were doing it.
Maybe. But see, I don't want to say to you, all the time, think, I'm going to send you something, because then your mind starts going and you're like, what's it going to be? And then you kind of think logic. So my whole thing with you on that and with Gabe was that I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to see if either one of them says anything. And so when I went back, I went to the garage and you didn't mention anything. And I was like, did you get anything, like a weird message? Like, were you sitting there and just randomly thought of something? And I don't remember what you said. Oh, take a shower or something like that. I said, it's an action. You're like, take a shower. That was a good laugh. So no, then I told you, yeah. And you said that I don't know if it was at the same time. I don't really know, but you did have that thought of, I need to make tea.
Right.
Yeah.
I did.
And then with Sherry, what we did is I asked her to think of something and she could pick whatever she wanted to think of and then maybe just narrow it down to a category for me.
All right.
And so she said because music is so important to us, she was going to pick a song.
Okay.
Okay. So there's how many songs in this world, and I thought this was going to be easy. I hear music a lot just randomly throughout the day. I'll hear a song, and it usually correlates with a message that I should get or with something in the day or whatever.
Right.
I tried all day to listen for this song, and like the only song that I heard randomly was Your Kiss is on my list by Hall & Oates, and so I asked her, and she was like, no, like, try again. And so she's like, I'll listen to it again. And then I was in the shower and I saw like Big Hair is what I was thinking. A big hair band. No, wasn't a big hair band. Wasn't
well,
a
they
woman
had
with
long
big
hair, but not big hair.
Yeah. So I tried yesterday to really just let it go. And I figured maybe at some point it would come in. And then this morning I asked her and she said it was Pink Floyd, Comfortably Numb. So that is like one of my most favorite
Did she know
favorite
that?
songs. Yes, I talk about it a lot
Yeah,
on the
I
show.
thought you had, so.
So I think that, you know, if you listen to the show regularly like she did, she knew that I love this song. And I listened to it very often, but it didn't come to me at all. And I even listened on my meditation mix yesterday, there was a Pink Floyd song. I think it was either Learning to Fly or Hey You. And I didn't get anything at all. And I'm like, oh, this is like way harder than I thought it was going to be, you know? I didn't see that one. But, and then with Chelsea, we tried sending colors and numbers to each other, and that didn't go well either. So my attempts have failed, but that's okay.
All right.
That's okay, because that's how you learn.
Yeah, it's not failure. You're learning.
Right. I can communicate with animals. I can communicate with spirits. I can throw things at you randomly that a lot of times you do pick up on. But learning to actually have a telepathic communication with another person is very, very hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard. I watched a video from Aaron Dowdy. We've talked about him before. I really like Aaron. And I actually, let's see, I have it here somewhere for you so you guys can look it up too. It's YouTube video, Telepathy, How to Send Telepathic Messages. And he talks about how him and his brother figured out how to do this. And that they stood in front of each other and they tried for a while and nothing was happening. And then they kept trying and they started realizing that you have to be on that same wavelength. You have to let your guard down. And he explains kind of how to do it. And then said that, they started with like 1 through 10. And then they got up to like 3 and 4 digit numbers. And they were accurate more times than not. What happens is your own logic steps in and it kicks that out of the way. I have that happen all the time when I do like the ESP Zener cards. Is like all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, I got 4 or 5 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get the next one. And then logic kicks in and that's it.
Right.
So it's not like it doesn't work all the time. It's just that your logical brain kicks in and overrides it.
Well, even the couple examples we shared here just now about you and Gabe and the potential that may have been, and then you and I, the potential that may have been.
Right.
So my logic wants to say, it's coincidence.
Yeah.
But
right.
Is it really?
Right. Is it really? I don't know. And that I probably should have, like with Gabe, messaged him maybe a little bit after. I just let it go because I wanted to see if he was actually going to reach out to me. But I do believe that there is, maybe it was, even if it was a small thing that he was picking up. It's just something you got to practice. You got to work on, Right. So then how? How do you learn how to do this? Well, number one, which is always the number one thing that you should do before you start any spiritual practice, is what?
Meditate.
Meditate. Thank you. It's really important.
Yes.
And balancing your chakras as well, if you're into that, if you know about that. If you don't, you should look into it. We did an episode on it. But I really believe that our body has these energy centers. I do balance my chakras as often as I remember to. I did it this morning. And if you do it correctly, you can feel which one of your energy centers or the ones are out of whack. And like today for me, it was my third eye. Everything felt really, really tight. My third eye felt really tight. And then I did my meditation and I did that and I cleaned that chakra and everything relaxed.
Nice.
So if you find that chakra that's maybe blocking you or causing you issues, it definitely helps to be able to open yourself up more.
Right.
You know, patience is also the key. Don't expect instant results. This takes practice. Let's see, knowing it works. You have to know that it works. So believing it works. You can't sit there and go, well, maybe this is going to work. You have to know telepathy is real.
I find that the irony, it's not ironic, but that patience is like ingrained into almost everything.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about it, I'm going to go off for a second here, but all of us live this life and none of us really want to die. Mm-mm. But most of us are very impatient.
Right.
So if we're in no hurry to die, why are we trying to push this thing along?
Absolutely.
Why are we so freaking impatient?
That's right.
Because the purpose of being patient is so that you actually don't miss as much.
Right.
And you learn.
Yeah.
It's in my impatience that I'm missing a lot of these messages, whether it be intuitively, telepathically, spiritually. I'm being impatient.
Right.
If I were just to slow myself down a little more, enjoy the process a little more, I think you then tend to open yourself a bit more.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. That's a very, very good point because we don't look at patience as like a problem. Mm-mm. We just look at it as like, well, whatever. I'm an impatient person. But something else about it is that when you learn to be patient and you learn to let things come to you the way that they're going to, they come to you a lot easier because you're fighting with your impatience. You're fighting that. You're resisting against what's supposed to be with your impatience. I'm not preaching. I have the same problems. Right. I've talked to you about them last week. I was like, I just got to not think about this thing. Let it happen. I'm being impatient. And I know that. And I know, but we need to remind ourselves, you know.
I mean, think of how many times you hear it from a little kid to an adult that might say something like, I can't wait for Christmas morning.
Right.
I can't wait for that vacation.
Yeah.
I can't, it's like, it's embedded in us.
Yeah.
This level of impatience.
It is, absolutely.
And it's taught us to not stop and slow down and smell the flowers.
Right.
And that's a term for learning.
Yeah. Absolutely. These are all things we have to learn.
Yeah.
That's all we're here for. One big learning journey, really.
Yeah.
One lesson after the other. And patience, I think, for a lot of us is a lesson that we have to learn. And none of us are perfect, and we're never going to be perfect with it. But the more that you can learn to control that thought and not get impatient, the better it is for everything, your spiritual journey, your physical well-being, everything.
For sure.
Yeah. Speaking of physical well-being, it's also important when you want to do stuff like this to be in good physical health. At least, not sick. Like if you have a cold or there's something going on or you're in pain or whatever, it's much, much harder to connect when you have something else like that. If you're healthy and you feel good, it's easier to connect. I have been totally changed my diet and all of that without even thinking about it. It's just something that with my spiritual abilities, it had to happen because the better that I take care of myself, the better my abilities are. And I feel that.
Yeah.
You're more connected, otherwise you're grounded. You're pushed into the earth. This way you're just, you're more connected in a different way.
I mean, there's physical gravity and there's spiritual gravity.
Yeah.
So the more you're burdened, the more you burden yourself with negativity and worry, it's like you're weighed down.
Yeah.
The more you put these heavy foods that aren't super good for you, the more you're weighed down.
Yes. Again, not preaching. It's something that we battle every single day. There's a black and white cookie in that kitchen right now that's not calling my name because I know it'll make me sick, but I still want it so bad. It's like these are things you just have to learn is what's more important. Do I want to feel like crap after I eat that cookie, enjoy it for 10 seconds, or do I want to enjoy my day more,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pick your battles.
You absolutely have to pick your battles with everything. So what's the benefits of telepathy? Okay, why would we do this besides just being more connected to each other? Well, it is, you are relating better to others and on a higher level if you can understand them and get into them more. And this is where I think that telepathy comes in, that you being connected to people, you feel them more, you can connect with them. So if you're doing this telepathy, then you're just naturally are going to be more connected with people. Which can be difficult because it's not like mind reading, but like if I'm in the room with somebody, I can tell you what's going on. I can feel what's going on. You know, you pick up those things, whether they're telepathic or they're psychic, whatever. That happens, you know, and the more you work on it, the more that happens.
Yeah.
Which can be difficult because then you pick up other people's energy, but,
yeah,
you know, it's all a balance. One of the best things that I can think of, reasons to use telepathy and benefits from it, is communicating with your animals. Because that helps in so many ways that people don't even understand. Like when you have a dog that's licking, okay, and you think they're just licking because that's what dogs do. Well, no, they might be licking because they're in pain, because they have an allergy. There's a lot of reasons. So when you can telepathically connect to them and say, why are you licking? What's going on? Well, this itches or this hurts. You know better then. Because I think that we have a tendency to think that these animals don't know what's going on with them or they can't communicate what's going on with them. And the fact is that we just don't speak their language.
True.
So if we can learn to speak telepathically with them, then we can tune into them better and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
You know? Let's see. It's actually a more efficient means of communication. And here's what I mean by this is that if you can learn to communicate with other people telepathically. So let's say that you're in here and I'm in the bedroom, okay? And I want to tell you something. There's a couple of different ways right now that I would do that. I would text you or I would get up and I would walk over here and I would tell you myself.
Right.
But telepathic communication, I would just be able to send that thought to you much easier. Much easier than both of those other things.
Right.
So you can
And the other element of that too is because, like what Bashar was saying, it has to come to do it correctly or easily.
Right.
It has to come from a place of love where you're connecting to this person's energy in a positive way.
Right.
So it's even a better form because it's like the message comes wrapped in love. Whether you realize it or not, it's doing something for you, the two recipients,
right,
or the people that are involved in this communication. Tone can't get misunderstood,
right,
like text or email. Facial expression can't get misunderstood,
right,
because you're just showing facts. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Images, facts. But the fact that it comes wrapped in this vibrational kind of...
Yes.
It's sort of necessary for it to travel, almost.
Yes.
It has to come in this vibration of you're connected to this person in a loving way.
Yes.
To be open to receive messages and give messages.
You hit the nail on the head there. And you may not realize, but there's something that you kind of answered your own thing here from the past, is that when I was kind of trying to help you learn to communicate better with the dogs. And I told you so many times, if you're frustrated with them, they're not going to hear you.
Right.
You need to, in your mind, I mean, if you need to lower your energy, like bring your vibrations up, but lower that negative energy.
Right.
And then they'll hear you. But if you try and send something telepathically that's like, stop doing that, they're not going to hear you.
Right. And the more that when you're not agitated by a situation, animal, person, or whatever, you can receive a message. And it's funny because earlier this morning, Zuma was standing in the doorway just staring.
Yeah.
And you're like, don't worry. I don't know exactly how
I got up to follow him because what he does is he stands there and then he wants you to follow him so he can show you what he wants.
Right.
And so I got up to follow him and he did not move. He wasn't interested in me.
Okay, so then you said he wants Daddy to take him.
I didn't say that. You did. You said he wants Daddy to take him outside.
Right.
I was like, okay,
but
that makes
then
sense.
I heard it.
Yes.
And I corrected myself because when I heard it, I didn't hear he wants.
Yeah.
I heard and it was a joke.
Right.
Where he was saying, he didn't ask, or he's not taking me. I told him
I've told him. Yeah.
Essentially what I heard was, I'm telling him.
Yeah.
It's time to go outside.
Yeah, when you said that to me, when I told you, I think he wants to go, he's asking you to go outside.
That's
is
what
I said.
it was.
Yeah,
I
he's
said,
asking.
no, he's telling me. Because I heard, no, I'm telling you. And see,
Yeah.
it slipped right by me. Mm-hmm. But I thought of it as my own humorous thought.
Right, exactly.
But because I was in a moment where I was loving and adoring him,
yeah.
I heard that, just like with Sabbath, every now and then I'll hear kind of a sarcastic voice.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I prefer this, or I want that.
Shocking.
You know?
Yeah.
But I don't hear it as much as you. But
Yeah.
it comes in sometimes, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good example. As far as like really, really how to do this, like instructionally wise, the best thing I can say is to go on YouTube and look through, do like search telepathy, walking through the process, or whatever. Look at that Aaron Doughty video that I mentioned, because he does explain it. But there are a lot of, ones that are like computer generated that show you different things, and that maybe sucks you in a little bit more,
Right.
a little bit more instruction there, because it is something that, I think we think that we want, to do it. Like, I'll sit here, I'll send you, what color am I thinking, But this shows you more how to do it, what the right things to say, the right frame of mind to be in. And those are the types of things that will set you on the journey.
It doesn't come from your brain.
Right.
It comes from your mind.
That's right. Right. Now, there is something that comes with telepathic communication that is interesting, and that is that when you do this, people can read your thoughts. So you are opening yourself up to the possibility of sending them thoughts that you weren't meaning to send them. But you can stop that. I actually was...
Delete. Control Z.
A couple of weeks ago, I had mentioned that I've got this tooth thing that's been going on. And so one of my astrology friends, Melinda, she said, how about if I send you some Reiki? And I was like, oh, that would be really cool. Mm-hmm. And it really did help.
It does.
But she messaged me she started doing it, but then she messaged me and said, you have a shield up around you. I do. I shield. I protect myself. Mm-hmm. And she said,
you've told me that in your meditations.
Mm-hmm. And she said, whether you know it or not, you do that for Danny too. He has a shield. And she's like, so I need you to kind of lower that for me so that I can do this work on you. So when you do like shielding, grounding, and these are things that you could look up on YouTube as well. When you do these things, it is kind of putting like a protective force field around you so that people can't get in unless you ask them to or you want them to. You have access. You're my husband. You can get those thoughts from me.
Right.
But the outside world, I have a shield up so that they don't. And I didn't even realize how strong it was until she said that.
That's awesome.
That was pretty cool.
At least you know it's working.
Yes, right? Exactly.
Thank you, by the way, too.
Yeah. Thank you.
For looking out. Good looking out.
Yeah. Yeah, that was it was cool. I do Reiki sometimes, but it's hard to do on yourself. And so her sending that to me, it did help.
You've done it on me and it's helped.
I really, truly believe in it. It's just energy healing. Yeah. And you can heal yourself absolutely with energy. But if you're worried about this, if you're worried about people being able to get in, then you need to do that grounding and shielding work. And that will help so that they can't get in unless you want them to. Mm-hmm. So don't worry about that. There's always ways to do this. People ask me too, when this is off subject, but kind of on the subject, is like, if you have spirits that are talking to you and you don't want to be talked to at that time, like let's say you're falling asleep or you're taking a shower, or there's just times that you don't want to be talked to, you can do that with them as well and say, please don't talk to me between this time and this time, or whatever it is, whatever rules and shield you want to put up for them, you can.
Right.
Because I do get asked that a lot, like, how do I get them to stop because I don't want it at the certain times? It's absolutely possible. You just have to put that shield up and believe.
Right. Yeah, I remember when it first started for you and you were like, whoa, like from like they're talking all night long, and I wake up in the morning and it's like I'm hearing all these different people.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, well, maybe you can just simply request, hey, kind of like how your mom did when we first, that first night.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like they were just lined up, and she's like, okay, one at a time and only 15 seconds each. No, I don't know if she really said that, but she was ushering them along quickly so everybody could get a chance.
Yeah.
But you weren't completely worn out and exhausted by it, by the end of it. Which you were anyways, but...
I remember saying to you before we went to bed that I hoped that when I woke up in the morning, it wasn't going to just be picking up from where I'm leaving off right now. Because I can't imagine living with that kind of intensity of these feelings all the time.
Right.
Like, I didn't know what the hell I had just opened. I opened Pandora's spiritual box,
right,
and
right.
I didn't know what to expect. But luckily, the next morning I woke up and it wasn't like, okay, next one, we're here. We've been waiting for you to wake up. It's not like that.
But I think because you consciously made the request.
Yes.
And the same thing happened for...
Sorry about snoring Dane again.
Yeah. We're almost done.
Yeah.
The same thing happened when it came to animals and connecting with deceased animals, that you had requested not to see horrific things because it really affects you.
Yes.
And so they try to tell you in the simplest forms how they've passed.
Yes.
Or, when they've passed. But they don't tell you all that or show you, which is cool. And it's just proof that it's a simple request.
Yes.
And you just almost say it as if it will be.
Absolutely. Yeah, like if I have a dog that was hit by a car, I will like kind of feel impact or like notice that there's impact, but I don't see the dead dog lying there or the misery that it's in. I don't see that, thankfully. And I did that with people too. Now, if I need to, I can say, because I have done that before. There was something, it was a murder or something that, it was, I did a reading for a lady whose brother was murdered, and I needed to see it. I needed to see what happened, but they weren't showing me at first. And I said, it's okay. You can show me. Just maybe avoid, like, if he was shot, like the impact moment or whatever, and they'll give you whatever you want. Right. Really. You just have to ask for it.
Right.
For sure. They listen.
It's incredible.
But you have to believe it, too. If you're like, please don't, and I don't know if you're going to do that, but no, they will. You just have to believe.
Yeah.
For sure. So a good way that I figured this week to work on the telepathy, which I didn't even really realize is telepathy, are Zener cards. And I've talked about the Zener cards before. These are the cards that have the square, star, plus sign, circle. Each card has a different symbol on it, okay? And you lay the cards out. You can do it. There's apps for them. And then you have to pick which one is, which is the right card. Mm-hmm. So I went on YouTube and I was looking up different ways to work on telepathy. And I came to this couple. I believe that they were Irish. I'm not real sure. They have really strong accent. And what they did was an exercise where they showed you all of the cards. And then they didn't think about it yet. But then they started sending it to you. And they were looking in the video, just looking at you and intently, and sending it to you, what it is. And I remember when I looked at it, I was like, square. Well, then I sat there, and then they were like, okay, here we go. We're going to start this. And they focused in, and I immediately knew it was a circle. I was like, it's not a square, it's a circle. And I kept seeing it over and over. And that's how you know if you're right, is if it's like, you can't talk yourself out of this.
Right.
And I said, if it is not a circle, I quit. And it was a circle.
Thank God.
Yeah. But the Zener cards are very frustrating because you really have to learn to listen. And so that's probably what makes it good with the telepathy, is because you're waiting for that to come in that shows you either what symbol it is or you hear it or whatever. You can't jump to it because you're going to be wrong. If you just maybe it's a circle, click. No, you have to stop and you have to listen and then, close your eyes, see whatever it is you see. It's very, very good training. I highly recommend it. Very frustrating, but...
Yeah. You've shown me.
Yeah, when I first learned about my abilities, it was something that I went to almost immediately thinking that, hey, if I'm psychic, I can do this. Oh, no. It doesn't work like that. But it is a very good way to help you work on that telepathic ability.
And I think it opens up your general muscle, period.
Oh, yeah. You have to
help you with other things.
You have to work on it. Like, if you see people in the movies with the Zener cards, they're always get every single one. And you just think that that's the way it's supposed to be. And I think that's why people don't believe that they have psychic ability.
Yeah.
Because they see those types of things and think that they need to know everything about everything. And you know what? That's not the case.
No.
Because we are wrong sometimes. Especially if I'm out doing something and somebody messages me and asks me a question, you're probably not going to get my psychic opinion on it. You're going to get logic, because I'm not connected. I'm not in that zone.
Right.
There's a whole process to it.
Yeah.
And until you get into it, you don't realize that. And so you think that you know what these abilities are. And trust me, until you get into it, you have no idea.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
It's almost like you're stepping partially into that dimension a little bit. It's like you can't just be a mortal human being walking around and be able to do those things. You've got to connect that energy.
Exactly. It's hard for people to understand that. They just think that you should be psychic 24 hours a day, which, if I am, if you give me a moment to get into the zone, I am.
Right.
And that's why, like, Chelsea and I have a strong telepathic connection as well. We didn't prove it in the experiment that we did.
Right.
But a lot of times she'll ask me to look at something, or I'll ask her to look at something. And because I know that we're so telepathically connected now, we'll ask for a third person's opinion because, like, for example, she's pregnant right now and she asked me if I thought it was a boy or a girl. And I said, I'm pretty sure it's a girl. And she said, that's what I was thinking. It's a girl. I know it's a girl. Well, it's not. It's a boy. But was I picking up on what it actually is, or was I reading her mind, her telling me that that's what it is? So those are the types of things that can throw you off, too. It still could be a girl. You know, it's still very possible because she used, like, this new finger prick test where you, like, send in a little sample of your blood and they tell you. So I don't know how accurate it is. But it's very possible that I was just reading her mind, that we were telepathically communicating there.
Sure.
So that those things happen too.
Yeah.
And that's where we
Nothing wrong with that.
Not at all. You just have to learn the difference, which sometimes I still don't know.
Yeah.
I'm still learning.
Yeah.
You know, it's all learning. It's all trial and error, and that's where the patience comes in.
Mm-hmm. It's like a muscle. You got to work it out.
Yes. Rome wasn't built in a day, right?
No.
Yeah. So.
For sure.
Yeah. So there's my episode for you on telepathy.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I like the subject. I'm going to work on it more. And if anybody wants, they want to work on it with me, message me. And I love to work with different people because, you never know who you might find that connection with. That you're just like, yeah.
Right.
I don't know if you remember this, but my friend Lindsay, we sat on the couch one night and I was sending her gifts that she was just about to send me. That's telepathic. That wasn't my psychic ability. That was us on the same wavelength connecting and me just knowing what it was she was going to send.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were blowing her mind, too.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I enjoyed that one. So, yeah.
But you know what? I think it's cool. I'm glad that you try those things. It's like, I probably wouldn't sit down and try telepathy out of just the blue.
Yeah.
But when you're telling me to try to help you, then I start thinking about it. I'm like, oh yeah, let's try to get into that space. Teach me more about, how to get into that space. Kind of.
We need to try it. Like, we should have done it yesterday when we were out, but there were so many people out at where we went, where the trees were and everything, that it just wouldn't have worked. But if we're both on the same wavelength and we do this and we try to really focus and send each other things, we can do it. We can get those we get things from each other all the time, like you said, but those are accidental. Like, we can do this on purpose.
Oh, yeah. So we have.
But not as good.
It wasn't like sitting down intentionally.
Exactly. And that's what we need to do.
That's where I kind of wonder, is it intent? So what, you know what I mean? Is that something involved here?
Well, you're different forms of telepathy.
Right.
So you're trying different things. Like, the natural is totally different. That's going to happen no matter what you do.
Right.
So now what we're going to try and do is be more intentional about it.
Yeah. And
you have to practice for that. You have to. It's not going to just come naturally, at least not to most of us, unless you already have this ability and worked on it. It has to be worked on.
Yeah.
That's just.
I agree.
Like anything else.
Cool.
So, yay.
Well, that was great. Thanks, babe.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I always enjoy learning more, and the more I learn, the more my abilities grow, and that's really what I'm here for. Is the more I can help, the more my abilities grow, the more I can help people.
Yep,
So,
I
yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Well, before we say goodbye, do you want to share your information?
Yes, let's do that. My website is SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. Like I said, we also have a TikTok now. If you go to TikTok, it's at Spiritual Joneses. And one of the cool things about that is that we have a link on there. It's called Linktree, where you can see all of our links.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it goes to the Facebook and to my website and to your website and Gypsy Brown. So you can get a lot of things off of there too.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
And then you, sir.
Yes, for me, my art page is on that TikTok.
It is, yes.
But if you want to just go straight to it, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram and Facebook, and for the music, gypsybrown.com for the web, at Gypsy Brown Music for Instagram, and at Gypsy Brown Bam for Facebook.
You got that down now. It like comes out
I
naturally.
have to close my eyes and do it like I'm reading off a cue card because it feels like a lot. I need to get it all simplified.
I know. We need to find a way. Just go to this website and it'll take you anywhere. I mean, that link tree is that it's similar, but
that is a neat feature.
Yeah,
so
it is
cool.
really cool. Yeah.
But anyway, so that's it for me.
That's it.
Well, we hope everybody got something out of this.
That we do.
I did. Give it a try. Practice. Send Samantha, me, whatever.
Yeah, please.
Messages, and let's see if we can make it happen.
Let's do it.
We hope you guys have a great week.
That we do.
Until next week, peace and love.